have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that there is a free Vietnamese textbook with audio teaching Southern Vietnamese, easily accessible on the internet. The word for textbook, giáo trình, giáo trình. This textbook is very comprehensive and is designed to take the learner to a fairly high level of proficiency. The bad news is that this textbook is almost 60 years old, which makes it quite dated in terms of instruction method as well as some language content. However, it remains valuable both as commentary on the Vietnamese language and also as a historical document. The textbook in question is the basic course in Vietnamese created by the FSI, Foreign Service Institute. FSI Vietnamese Training Program. The word for program or curriculum. Chương trình, chương trình. The FSI was established in 1947 by the US government to train diplomats and other members of the foreign affairs community. This training includes training in foreign languages. The word for foreign language, ngoại ngữ, ngoại ngữ. As the US military presence in Vietnam continued to grow throughout the 1960s, demand for Vietnamese language training began to strain capacity at the FSI. In November 1966, they were training 165 students of Vietnamese. The word for student, học viên, học viên. There are several words for students, but if we talk about students in a foreign language class, this is the word to use, học viên. Since classes were limited to 6 students, or in exceptional cases, 8 students, that meant that they needed 27 classrooms at one time just to teach Vietnamese. The word for classroom, phòng học, phòng học. The FSI also had to bring over 20 additional Vietnamese teachers from Saigon. The word for teacher, giáo viên, giáo viên. They even had to form a separate facility called the Vietnam Training Center, which was disbanded in the 1970s when the Vietnam War was coming to an end. If you ever Googled, how difficult is it to learn Vietnamese, you may have come across this popular chart which categorizes languages based on their difficulty level. This chart was created by the FSI based on their 70-year experience in training US diplomats. I should point out that these difficulty levels apply only to native speakers of English, since that's who the FSI was training. There is no sense in which one language is objectively more difficult than another, since difficulty will change depending on the native language of the learner. There are 4 categories. Category 1 is easiest, dễ nhất, dễ nhất. And category 4 is hardest, khó nhất, khó nhất. Vietnamese is in category 3, hard languages. Ngôn ngữ khó học, ngôn ngữ khó học. Defined as languages with significant linguistic and or cultural differences from English. Languages in category 3 require approximately 1,100 hours of study, 44 weeks of training, 25 hours per week in classroom to reach professional working proficiency in the language, or a score of speaking 3, reading 3 on the Interagency Language Roundtable scale. If you study only 2 hours a week, 2 giờ một tuần, 2 giờ một tuần, it would take you 10 năm rưỡi, 10.5 years, 10 năm rưỡi to accumulate 1100 hours. FSI, Basic Vietnamese Course. Basic Course, khóa học cơ bản, khóa học cơ bản. There are 2 volumes, 2 tập, 2 tập. Volume 1, tập 1, has a guide to pronunciation, phát âm, which is very thorough, 52 pages long. And then lessons from 1 to 10. The word for lesson, bài, bài. Volume 2, tập 2, has 5 lessons, 11 to 15. 5 bài, 5 bài. Some of the language taught in the course is quite dated now and is heard much less frequently. I will talk about some of these changes in my next video, so please stay tuned. The introduction contains detailed instructions about how the materials are to be used. Here are some very interesting points about the teaching and learning methods. Teaching method, phương pháp dạy, phương pháp dạy. Learning method, phương pháp học, phương pháp học. Listening comes first. All pronunciation drills must be conducted first with the book closed. After mastering the pronunciation, learners can open the book for reading practice or to confirm how a sound is written. Why is that? Well, Vietnamese writing is based on the Latin alphabet, just like English. This means that an English speaker will be influenced by the written form of a Vietnamese word. For example, if you see the word in its written form before hearing it, your brain will tell you that it's pronounced that, like in English, while in fact it is pronounced thật, thật. So this listen first, read later approach is designed to avoid that interference. Maybe you've had this experience yourself, mispronouncing Vietnamese words because of the influence of the written form. Always use normal speed. All the recordings are at normal speed, and the Vietnamese tutor has to speak at normal speed in class too. Normal speed, tốc độ bình thường, tốc độ bình thường. Now, normal speed means fast, nhanh, nhanh. The reason for this is the ability to understand slow, deliberate speed never heard outside is of little practical value. Chậm, chậm. These days, many materials and many teachers go against this principle and speak in an artificially slow way in order to facilitate understanding. What do you think about these 2 approaches? There are 2 teachers, one linguist who talks in English about Vietnamese, and a Vietnamese tutor for students to imitate. A tutor who has no technical linguistic training should not attempt to explain things about Vietnamese. That's the job of the linguist or of the book's explanatory notes. This 2-teacher approach is obviously a bit of a luxury. It would seem better to have a single teacher who is able to do both jobs. But the fact is, even today, many teachers of Vietnamese are not strongly qualified in linguistics and are often unable to explain features of the language clearly and accurately. The word for explain, giải thích, giải thích. I think the same is also true for many teachers of English. Drilling hours with the Vietnamese tutor should be conducted entirely in Vietnamese from day one. A class, lớp học, that fluctuates between English and Vietnamese, constantly interrupted by English questions and comments, never achieves the desired results. I think many Vietnamese teachers would be happy with this approach. No questions, just repeat after me. Lặp lại theo cô. Lặp lại theo cô. I've had many students who always ask why, and that tends to slow down the progress. While the why questions can be fascinating, the fact is that if you want to make progress in a language, the key question to ask is not why, but what? What do we say, not why do we say it? Or as the FSI materials put it, remember that usage, not logic, determines what is accepted in a language. Approaches in language teaching has changed a lot since the 1960s. Popular methods have come and gone, and these days many educators are in favor of less rigid models. For example, drills are useful, but so is spontaneous talk. Speaking at normal speed is essential, but slowing down to aid comprehension is useful too. And one common feature of modern language classrooms that may have been absent from the FSI classrooms is fun. I'd like to hear what you think about the FSI materials and methods we have looked at in this video. Please let me know in the comment section. And now let's recap some useful vocabulary connected to the topic of language learning. Giáo trình, chương trình, khóa học, cơ bản, ngoại ngữ, phòng học, giáo viên, học viên, ngôn ngữ, ngôn ngữ khó học, 2 giờ một tuần, mười năm rưỡi, phát âm, tập, bài, phương pháp, phương pháp dạy, phương pháp học, dễ nhất, khó nhất, tốc độ bình thường, nhanh, chậm, giải thích, lớp học, lặp lại theo cô, Before I go, I'd like to thank Ross, Michelle, and Eric for supporting me on Patreon. Cảm ơn rất là nhiều. I really appreciate your support. If you find my videos useful and interesting, please consider becoming my Patreon and check out my other products, subscription lessons and books. Cảm ơn và hẹn gặp lại lần sau.